Welcome to the special access tour of the Lilydale Museum. My name is Willa White, and I am host of the Wednesdays with Willa podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. And this is an opportunity for us to have a wonderful spiritual conversation, usually regarding spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, or more. And I'm delighted to be back here in the Lilydale Museum. I have with me Ron Nagy. He is our Lilydale historian. Hello, Ron.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're going to do a wonderful tour. Before we get into that, I want to tell you how you can tune into Wednesdays with Willa every week. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. This will also get shared to the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page, as well as my YouTube channel. On the mornings that I'm not doing a field trip like this, well, I'll be on blogtalkradio.com/Lilydale Radio. I am part of the Lilydale Radio family, and I know that some of the other shows will start up soon, so you can check things out. That's a listen-only feature for the Blog Talk Radio, but most people like to see and hear, especially when we're doing these great guests and great tours. And as I said, we are here in the Lilydale Museum with Ron Nagy, who's the Lilydale historian. You've been the historian for so many years now, and it's been wonderful that someone is here to be a keeper and caretaker of the history. We've done wonderful shows in the past. I think we've done slate writing, we've done spirit precipitation paintings. We've talked about the portraits that are in the assembly hall, everything having to do with the wonderful Lilydale and spiritualist history. And Ron is an author of various books on spiritualism and Lilydale history. So I encourage you to check out his website, which is ronnagy.net. Lilydale is currently off season, so you can check out the lilydaleassembly.org website. Just keep in mind that during the off season, there aren't any daily events. Most of the public buildings are closed, such as the museum. It's only open by appointment only. The mediums, some are available for readings, but I strongly suggest that you book an appointment in advance. Most of the mediums here are not able to take walk-ins because they have busy life as well. So you can check out how to find a medium on the lilydaleassembly.org website. And there will be workshops that run during the off season, usually on Zoom, which you can register for on the Lilydale website as well. So we're here in the Lilydale Museum. You can see behind us, Ron has this board. This has actually only been up for the last couple of years. You had to get a new board, right?
Yeah,
because
the old board was full.
So many people visit the Lilydale Museum, and we hope that we can see you next summer when it's open. But the clustering, as you can see, mainly comes from this region of the United States,
California,
but all over the world.
Florida.
Before, there were just pins everywhere. It was harder to see the states. And then, of course, we have people that come internationally from international spaces. And, he's going to point me here to the map behind us right here. And so those are people that have been able to visit within this last summer or so. And I encourage you to come visit in the summer when you can really see all of this. And Ron can explain a little bit more about the history for you. So, let's see, we've mentioned that the Lilydale Museum isn't open during the off season except by appointment. Is there anything else we need to say?
Here Saturdays, I'm walking around if it's a nice day.
If it's a nice day, he might open up for you.
Open and, I'm a hit or miss kind of a thing,
Sure. Because the weather does turn. Here in Western New York, we get a lot of snow, and it can come early. It can be here by mid-October many times. So, as I said, you can look at the archived videos of past shows on Willa White Medium and also on my YouTube channel. But we're going to get started with the special access tour of the Lilydale Museum. Ron is going to take us into a place that most people will never have access to. And so this will be one that you may want to save. It's an online only treat for you all, the viewers.
Spirits hide.
So, all right, guys, we're ready. We're going to get going here. So, Ron, why don't you go ahead and lead us? Do you want me to just go up the stairs
You can
first then? All right, Ron's going to explain a little bit about this. Let me turn the video around. Well, patience with me while I get that set. Patience with me. There we go. So we are now entering what is known as the upstairs. And Ron wants to cue the spooky music. So you can play that in your own minds if you're into Spook and Boo. And so we're heading up the stairs. And you can see that these stairs are very steep and very old. And I know that Ron wanted to point out a few things that are here. Should I carry on upward?
Right there on your left at the top is the names.
Ah, let's see.
Right up there.
Oh, up here. All right, so we've got some special names here.
That was the last graduating class.
And so the last graduating class would have been approximately what year?
1937.
1937. So the Lilydale Museum originally was built in 1890.
1890.
And the last graduating class that had school here was in 1937. And so this building was built for the purpose of educating the children of this community, and then was eventually turned into this museum. And here we are in the upstairs. All right. Ron's taking us over here first.
There's some of the last graduating class here.
So it's just a way of honoring them. And up here we've got a lot of artifacts that Ron has stored for the museum. But we wanted to honor the fact that this was the schoolhouse for many, many, many years, and that children learned here and probably kicked their desks.
The younger kids were downstairs.
Okay.
And then in the latter years, when there was more children, the older kids came upstairs, and they called that high school. And this here was where they put the bulletin boards.
Okay.
And the desks were this way.
All right. So the do the hand motion again. How were the desks placed?
I think they were this way here, facing the board.
Okay.
And they had plenty of light.
Yeah, there is a lot of light up here.
Two teachers.
I thought it was going to be more spooky up here. And I'm not saying I'm disappointed. I'm just saying that I think it's lovely light up here. An artist would love it.
Just a little. This picture here, there was a girl here years ago doing college research, and she had motion cameras and everything up here, and she kept them up here for a couple nights in a row, and she got a lot of activity.
Oh, spirit activity. Strong. Is this a cute little school desk then? A miniature version?
Yeah.
That's cute.
This was the picture in front of the museum.
This just got taken down. You'll probably notice if you've been to Lilydale in person that there are various pictures that are placed in certain in front of certain buildings. They get taken down for the winter so they don't get worn out. But as you can see, this is a picture of the school children.
And the teacher.
Yes. And I always think that this little boy here, he looks like he's just hovering there. Obviously, he's decided to sit on the snowbank, but he just looks like he's floating. So it's cute. Yes.
I have a little bit of everything up here. This is storage. Stuff I can't use now, don't have room for now, or isn't interesting to anybody now. But like I have all the signs from all the buildings they take down, things that'll be of interest 30 or 40 years from now or more.
Yeah.
They're not of interest today because we're all here looking at this stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm finding things that are interest to people now that weren't of any interest years ago.
Yeah. So people start asking questions about a certain
like here's
individual.
something here that's old. That was Marion Skidmore's. She had a collection for the upstairs library down the street in Assembly Hall. That was the library.
Yes.
That is a pencil drawing of Lo Watson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, oh, thanks. That helps with some of the glare that we get. That's a pencil. It's beautiful. That must have taken such a long time.
Here is one of the earlier boards that they had at the front gate, and if you notice here, it says no alcohol, skateboards, or horses.
Yeah, this used to be a real horse town, and now.
So they had skateboards and horses at the same time.
Can you imagine? But you can see the old lath and plaster of the building, and this is built in the same year my house was. And I know when we redid the walls, we had to take it on a lot of lath and plaster. So if anybody doesn't know what that looks like, here you go. And then I noticed this has a peak.
That was the bell up there. It was taken from there and put in front of the Lyceum so they could ring it once a day for 5 days out of the year. Broke my heart.
Oh, yes. But I understand that with the Lyceum, that is where children would have their Sunday school. Oh, look at this. Where'd this one come from?
That was 1900. The Campbell brothers bought 2 of those. And they gave them to the auditorium. And there was one on each side of the auditorium platform.
Okay.
And that's what's left of one.
So this used to be at the big auditorium building on the platform, or next to the platform, right? And the Campbell brothers were spirit artists. We did feature them in the Spirit Precipitation show that we did, that particular episode, if anybody wants to go back to that. But you can see the beautiful herons, and we do have herons here on the Cassadaga Lake. And I see, it looks like a mother and child along there.
Falling apart because it was the old glue that was on there.
It's still very beautiful.
I got old equipment down here that I have downstairs.
Oh, this is an Ediphone. Yeah, sometimes Ron people donate various equipment to the Lily Dale Museum. And there are a lot of old things. I bring my children in here sometime to look at the old equipment as well.
Here's a Cup of Joe's.
Remember Cup of Joe's, guys? These are the signs from years ago. And is this an instrument?
That is an old organ.
An old organ. Oh, look at that! Yeah. Do you know where that was kept originally, or who donated
This one I don't know. The one downstairs was in the Octagon.
Yeah. So I know that Ron stays busy trying to keep things organized, but also he needs to be labeling things and putting the dates and things. Oh, look, that looks like George Washington.
There's George up here.
Got to have George one, and it says this painting is not precipitated. You have to make that distinction for people. That's not spirit art.
That's my 2 spirits.
Yeah, sometimes I look up in the window and see these faces in the Lily Dale Museum. So this is the back side of those particular busts that he has.
That's solid cement. That's what hung on Ray Torrey's house all those years.
Oh. All right.
Alberta gave that to the museum before she passed.
And that's right. Ray Torrey is remembered as the singing medium. And that was a big cup.
That was on top of Cup of Joe's.
Yeah, I remember the post.
And in these, I keep everything. Paperwork-wise, old programs, you name it. I don't need to show it now, or I'm showing it and I have too many.
Sure.
Or they'll use this in the future. And if you turn around, that's the old bread box that was used. Like I said, it's damaged, but there's really no room for all this.
And this bread box was used where?
It was I forget where it was actually used. Probably in one of the stores. Then moved to the cafeteria.
Oh, so it made its way to the cafeteria and was used there.
And I got a lot of old pictures of people that I don't really know who they are.
But you might come across somebody who ends up knowing who they are. And I will mention this because it's important, and I'll say this later again, but the Lilydale Museum is in need of donations to maintain the building and also to maintain history. So if anybody would like to donate to the Lilydale Assembly, you can contact the Lilydale Assembly office and say that you're earmarking this for the Lilydale Museum so that this building can be preserved. We obviously need that to happen, as well as the historical artifacts. I mean, you can see that there's paper, there are newspapers and booklets and things like that need to have better historical storage. Ron would love to have that. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to preserve the history of Lilydale and the history of spiritualism. What's another thing?
Old school desk.
Oh yeah, an old school desk here. And you know that this was here in this particular screw room. What do you got there?
Old school desk and under here.
Wow. You could almost recreate it. Oh, and this is an old typewriter. Is this an old typewriter here?
It's another old typewriter. I got a couple downstairs.
Yes. I'll tell you, the other day, one of my children was saying, "Mom, what's a typewriter?" And I said, "Remember that we saw that down in the museum?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right." So it's good you have them.
Is an old woman's auxiliary sign, probably from the 30s or 40s.
Do you know what
It hung
auxiliary it
down
was
in the
for?
house by the cliff. That was the auxiliary building at the time.
Oh, are you talking about the one that looks like the Thomas Kincaid
The
house?
one down there's for sale.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was
what I
in
call
that building. Mm-hmm. And there's the mediums.
So when you say women's auxiliary, what does that mean? What is the women's auxiliary? Was that for a Lilydale?
Whatever the women do, make cakes and make money and
Money to support
something
Lilydale.
like the firehouse auxiliary does, but it was a general woman's auxiliary.
How many years was that building the women's auxiliary approximately?
I don't know that.
For a while then?
An old museum sign, the older museum sign, the first one really.
Mm-hmm. And at one point, this is the sign that was on the Octagon building, and the Lilydale Mediums League was using that. The Octagon building had also been used for the junior dance, I believe. And it's an 8-sided building that's here in Lilydale next to the museum, not far from our museum here. Oh, it's an old auditorium sign pointing the way.
Directions.
Yes, beautiful.
And that there is, they used to hang them in the house.
Oh, what, this mirror?
Yeah. I forget what you call that. But that hung on the wall, and you put your makeup there and different things.
Oh, it's like a little vanity mirror.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. And what are these paintings or portraits here?
These are pictures that were, this is one is painted. Mm-hmm. This is Ella Wheeler Wilcox.
Yes, Ella Wheeler Wilcox is a famous spiritualist poet and writer. And she has some wonderful writings that she has done in connection with spirit. Is there anything else that you could tell them about Ella Wheeler Wilcox? Ella Wheeler
She was
Wilcox.
here in 1882, right after she lost a child.
Mm-hmm.
And she stayed, in the old days, they had a fireplace in the Leland Hotel. Mm-hmm. And she stayed there all the way into the end of October, and she took a lot of notes. And I believe she wrote one of her books there.
Oh, nice, nice.
But she was seeing the mediums, and she was writing. And
she was grieving.
Kind of mentally grieving, you know.
Sure. And recognizing that love never dies and reflecting that in her writings. Are there some additional paintings that we wanted to look at through here?
Oh, there's I have old medium signs.
Oh, that's right. Yes, the old medium sign.
Older newspapers, and like I said, if I could double the size of the museum, I could double the size of what I could display.
Sure.
But there's so much, and other pictures and artwork, and
Almost want to have a good dig in here. It'd be like a little archaeological dig.
it's like, yeah, it's like getting a King Tut's tomb up here. There's the banner that was over the street, Dale Drive, when we had the bicentennial celebration here,
right.
and they're rolled up in the 125th banner.
Oh, the
And
125th banner.
that's the masquerade banner.
It was the 142nd or 143rd year this year. I've lost track.
I say 142nd because you guys all count wrong.
He's going to put us straight, folks.
Incorporated in 1879, but they did not have a camp in 1879. The first camp was 1880, so you got to subtract a year.
But they're counting that as at least as a meeting in some way. Is what they're probably.
I'm not going to argue about a year.
Not after all these years have passed. But I remember for the 125th, there were wonderful events.
This is another picture of some of the graduates of Lilydale that are relatives of one of our residents.
And they went off to war.
The Cooley and Smith families and the Woolley families. They're all dressed in their army uniforms.
Yeah, they're serving in the military.
And this is all the people that graduated from here. And here's another picture of the names on the wall.
A close-up of that.
And one of the last people to graduate here that passed away was Betty Schultz.
Oh, Betty Schultz was a registered medium here for many years. And she definitely loved talking to spirit. I'm sure she got some practice even in her school days. Ooh, here we go.
Now we have a troublemaker.
A troublemaker.
We have spirits in the museum. There's spirits upstairs and there's spirits downstairs. And this sewing machine here was downstairs, and I was down there a few years ago, and I was on one side of the museum, and I was looking at a gentleman on across the counter, and he looks at me, and he's as plain as can be, jeans, flannel shirt, and I never forget his face. He looks at me and he points at that sewing machine and says, "What's this sewing machine doing down there?" That's when it was downstairs. "What's this sewing machine doing there?" So very patiently I explained to him why I was displaying the sewing machine.
Why?
Because it was used here in Lilydale. It was used probably during World War II to make things for the soldiers overseas, like most of the auxiliaries did. And when I was done, with the same words and the same action, he says, "What's this sewing machine doing here?" Well, now, I have a patience limit, so being patient, explained to him a little further in detail why the sewing machine was downstairs. The third time, he points to the sewing machine, same look, same movement, same pointing at the sewing machine, and I'm like saying to myself, I've had enough. So I says to the person, "Look, I've had about enough of you." And before I got the next word out of my mouth, he looks at me, and I will never forget that face in his eyes. He said, "I don't like the energy in here." I was and disappeared. Pop. Nothing. Nothing. No, he didn't fade away or anything. He just went poof. He wasn't there at all. And there was 2 other people in the museum in the back, and thank God they were spiritualists, because when they knew what was going on, but they couldn't see what I was talking to, but they seen the argument I was having, and they knew I wasn't crazy. But I was white. They tell me I was white as a sheet for 2 weeks. And I will never forget that spirit that I talked to down there. And now I'm just a little bit leery of coming in here in the dark. I usually use a flashlight. But there's things that happen in your life, and you just can't do anything about it. It just happens.
But, you got to that place where you...
But I had Manus carry that sewing machine up here the next day.
Yeah, because you're like, I don't want
there
that.
There it
that guy
is.
back.
It folds in.
Well, you can
itself.
always tell Spirit, you can't be in here. That's okay. Yeah, you can set limits. That's for sure. But then this is a beautiful wooden case that is on this.
This is how they used to
isn't that
have
gorgeous?
them. Used to buy them like this, and then used to put them on any table, and you could sit there and work on them. Mm-hmm. But that one there, you take this top off, and it folds in, and then you bring it out, and there was a chair or a bench you sat on. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But these were...
This is such a beautiful machine.
Yeah, I
old
keep
wooden
this
case.
one. I make sure I keep that one covered.
Yeah, you want to protect it as best you can.
Yeah, because we lose plaster now and then. If you want to show some of the plaster we've lost.
We need you guys to help so that we can preserve the history, not just of this upstairs
and the old
space.
heating system vents. And,
yes. And the old heating systems.
but there's a little bit of everything.
So you mainly have a lot of, I see a lot of newspapers. I see a lot of booklets. I even see some, I don't know if these are scrapbooks or photo albums.
They're most likely empty.
Mm-hmm. You've been able to get some of preserved.
There's just some stuff there. I just don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't be of interest usually downstairs, so I leave it up here. And
Lilydale guides end up here, people. Some of them, at least.
I cover things because we have varmints flying around and behind the plaster, and
sure.
That's a railing from the 3rd floor of the Maplewood Hotel.
Oh, so if anybody's curious about the Maplewood Hotel, I did a tour of the Maplewood Hotel a few years back, and you can look for that in the archive videos. We go through all 3 floors, and this post, as Ron said, was on that 3rd floor.
I save everything.
Ron's our resident hoarder. That's what we want him to do, is hoard history as best he can.
You never know what they might use in the future.
It's so true. You never know.
If they can't use it in the future, let them do something with it.
Sure. Well, is there anything else you wanted to feature in today's show from the upstairs?
There's other pictures here that...
Who's this fellow?
I have no idea.
And I noticed there's an insignia there with an eye that it looks like it's on a lapel.
I have stuff here that was like this on the walls of other buildings that weren't
here in the Lilydale. Now let's talk. How long ago was this sign up, do you think?
The Maplewood Hotel dining room.
That's when they had the dining room. So at one point, the Maplewood had a really happening dining room place there.
They could seat 200 people in there.
Which is very impressive. Very impressive.
See, at one time they didn't have the walls downstairs in the Maplewood. It was all open ballroom. And the steps came down the middle. So they could put, like, where the rooms are now, there wasn't rooms there. That was all done in the 1980s after the big fire in the Leland Hotel.
Okay.
That's when they made more room in the Maplewood, so they built the rooms downstairs, which took a lot of space away from the dining area.
Yes, yes.
And that wall between wasn't where the desk is now down there, the intake desk. That wasn't there. It was by the front, more like by the front door.
Sure.
And they could put more tables in there, so they could easily fit 200 people down there.
Beautiful. Was there anything else you wanted to feature for the upstairs? As I know that this is a place that most people will not be able to be in. Ron does not take people up here. This is a special thing he did for us so that we could have a sense of things. And he's got so many boxes and so many bins of things that he's trying to protect. And like I said, it would be appreciated to have things donated money-wise to help this building and maintain this building. Another thing to mention is that there are people that do give to Lilydale memorabilia, and then Ron does feature it downstairs, usually downstairs in the main museum area. And it's wonderful things. People have found various things over the years relating to Lilydale and spiritualism, and we're doing the best that we can with the finances that we have and the situation that we have to maintain those, because spiritualist history is very, very important. So if they need to contact you, Ron, they can look at your website, ronnagy.net.
Or the
And
Facebook page
and
for
Facebook
Lilydale.
page for Lilydale Museum. The other thing to note that's important, guys, that if you're looking for information regarding a relative that has been at Lilydale, we need to make the distinction that if you email Ron, which is the best way to contact him with your questions having to do with Lilydale history, that the people you would ask him about are relatives that have been to Lilydale and been featured as speakers here, as registered mediums here, or if they have owned a house. There is no way to get information about a person who just happened to visit Lilydale one day and attended the lectures or attended the mediumship services. Correct? Correct. So if you email Ron, just make sure it's in that framework so that he can work with you better and locate what he can, especially because history for the museum is usually done by location or house, by building, right? And then old pamphlets, old brochures of Lilydale, and you would need to at least give an approximate of when that person had been in Lilydale.
I can look through old programs.
Right. And that all takes time, so he may not be able to get back to you with an answer right away, but he'll do the best he can with the time he has and with the information you're able to provide. Because I know people do contact you about that. And other people do come to the Lilydale Museum to do research for books. We have authors that visit on occasion that are doing documentaries. They come, but people who are doing research about spiritualism, research about Lilydale, and wanting to have a bit more flavor.
The research is here. The books are down at the library, but there are just a lot of books down there. You got to know what you're looking for to get to those books.
That's true.
Here is research, and I have a lot of the research in the back room, and they're all in files. They're all categorized, and I don't keep that out for the general public.
Absolutely.
It's only for the researchers and writers and all that I get that.
Yes, that is important to note. And so if you are a person that is researching Lilydale and wanting to know more about history, you can reach out to Ron. And of course, look at the other Wednesdays with Willa podcasts that we've done on the history of Lilydale. I think it's great that Ron was able to give us access to this. So now you guys don't have to come up the steep, creepy stairs. But also, just know that sometimes we don't know the value of history until a later time. And that's why we want to work so hard to preserve that history so that we can bring that to our lives and to the lives of future generations. So hope that you've enjoyed this Wednesdays with Willa broadcast. So remember, this was your little special access tour to the upstairs of the museum. And if you can please donate, that would be appreciated. Again, you can contact the Lilydale Assembly at the office there and say that this donation is earmarked. This is a building, all the buildings here in Lilydale need love, but this is a building that is here to preserve our history. And was there something else I was going to mention? Can you remind me? I've already forgotten. We don't want to forget our history. But is there something else? We mentioned your books. If people are interested in more information about spirit precipitation paintings and the Lilydale history, he's got that. And you could go to the lilydaleassembly.org website for things having to do with the off-season workshops that are offered through Zoom. The churches run their own programs in the off-season. So they have Sunday services, and there's a Wednesday night healing temple service as well that we hope will be ongoing in person here in Lilydale again. That was for many years. And the museum is right across the street. Shall I show them out the window real quick? It's right across the street, just to orient you. There is the Lilydale Healing Temple. So if you're visiting Lilydale and you're wondering what building is the museum, it is on Library Street, and you can see that the fire hall is just down the way there too, just to orient you, so that when next time you're here in Lilydale, you can come and visit Ron here at the Lilydale Museum. All right, everyone, thanks so much for being with us today, and I'll see you next week when my special guest is Connie Griffiths. We're going to be talking about merging intellect and intuition, and that's such an important piece to wanting to build your own understandings of your soul, intuition, and how to maybe move some of that left brain out of the way to do the work of spirit. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.